Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are. Hope all is well. Dylan Bruton with Pelicans Daily, presented by Fan Arch. Make sure to like, share, subscribe for your daily Pelicans content. Well, I appreciate once again. I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. I'm going to keep saying it, like a dead record. But I appreciate the support. Truly, truly, truly. You know what I'm saying? And I hope y'all been paying attention to the playoffs, particularly with this Eastern Conference Finals game that just happened. That was insane, crazy, absolutely mind-blowing. And I have a good feeling that this next OKC Thunder and Minnesota Timberwolves game is going to be like that, especially after the announcement of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning the MVP. Salute to him. Amazing, amazing year for an amazing player. Well-deserved. But let's talk about those Pelicans. This ain't the Thunder channel. This ain't the Timberwolves channel. This ain't the Knicks or the Pacers. This is the Pelicans. So, it's come to my attention. I was like, the one player that I haven't really even mentioned or talked about, Mr. Bruce Brown. Now Bruce Brown was part of the trade to Toronto for Brandon Ingram, where we received Kelly Olynyk. Bruce Brown, obviously, a 2026 first-round pick from Indianapolis, and a 2031 second-round pick. And Bruce Brown, has had quite the interesting career trajectory. I remember when he was at Miami, very versatile player, despite being undersized, was getting rebounds, averaged 7 rebounds in his 2 years with Miami. Not a big-time scorer, but very efficient around the basket for someone his height, because he's only 6'4", which, that's crazy to say, but in NBA terms, right? And, he came over with us, averaged 8, 4, and 2. No, numbers don't jump off the screen. 41% from the field, 36 from 3, 75 from the free throw line. Not really mind-blowing numbers. However, he did shoot 50% or better from the field in 7 of the last 13 games. And considering he only played in 23 games, granted, yes, we did go 7-16 with him. It's a small sample size. But it begs to ask the question, given his age, he's only 28 years old, given his fit as a, versatile kind of Swiss Army knife, kind of, similar to Herb Jones, but smaller and a little bit more offensive focused. Where does he fit into the grand scheme of things? You know what I'm saying? Now, lucky for us, he is an unrestricted free agent, and we have early bird rights on his contract, so, we can go over the salary cap in re-signing him. It wouldn't be nothing. He's not the same player that he was in Denver when they made that run to the finals in 2023. Averaged 12, 4, and 2. Steal a game on 51% shooting. 32% from 386 from the free throw line. But I do feel like he still has value. He still has an ability to, again, be that versatile Swiss Army knife, guard the opposing team's best player, go for those loose balls, make an open shot when need be, and take it to the rim and be aggressive. And the only reason why I bring him up is because, one, I have not really talked about him much, and then two, given his age and given his pedigree, he's in a very unique spot. He started off very slow with us. It took him a while to really find his footing, but he was helpful in us beating teams like the Timberwolves and teams like the Clippers, who made the playoffs. So, where does he fit? Do y'all think that Bruce Brown could still be a valuable role player with the team going in the 2025 year, or should we just cut bait? It's willing to ask, because I feel like the more defenders that you have on the team, the better. Defensively on the perimeter, we struggled all year, ranked in the low 20s. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it in our division, for one. Our division is incredibly rising. There's a lot of young talent there with the, obviously the Thunder have captured, they've captured everything, but you still have a team like the Mavericks, who are going to retool, likely get Cooper Flag. It's all but certain. And they've got, guys coming back from injury, Kyrie, AD. What happens with Klay Thompson? Who knows? Maybe that's a video topic for another time. What happens with Mr. Klay Thompson? Does he want to come over to Bayou? I don't know. But I've been hearing y'all and I've been reading y'all comments and y'all like no more players over the age of 30 with injury concerns. So I hear y'all loud and clearly. Bruce Brown is 28, hasn't had many injury problems, has not had many injury concerns. Him being a champion, him being a respected glue guy within the league, it doesn't hurt to have guys like those on the team. And he's not someone who's going to command the ball much. He's not going to need much offense generated for him. He's going to find his spots. He's going to make impact where he can find it. So I personally feel like it all depends again. Like I'm gonna keep saying this as well, Tom Blue in the face. But it all depends on what happens after draft night. That will have a big impact on what kind of players that we keep moving forward. And when we go into the full off season, who we end up bringing on in, who we end up trying to make moves for. So just food for thought. But it dawned on me. I'm like, I haven't really talked about Mr. Bruce Brown. And Bruce Brown, I feel like is a valuable role player. Yes, we've got guys like already Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, but it doesn't hurt to have more. Never hurts to have more. And especially with DeJounte being hurt for the start of the year and CJ, might be a little rusty coming back, doesn't hurt having another perimeter guard who can, go out there and guard the opposing team's best player and get some energy points here and there. But the next talking point, I did talk about him before, but Mr. Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. Now, I've been watching a lot of film footage of him in particular because in a lot of the mock drafts that I've been reading for us, at pick 7, they got us picking Jeremiah Fears. If it's not him, it's Kaman or Khan. It's one of those three. And I'll talk more in depth about those guys in other videos moving forth. But I wanted to start with Jeremiah Fears because I've seen his name pop up the most in our mock drafts. Now, Jeremiah Fears had one of the best freshman years, in my opinion, in the nation. You know what I'm saying? The young man averaged 17 a game, 4 boards, 4 assists. Yes, I know he averaged 3 turnovers, and that 4 assist to 3 turnover ratio is very nasty. And not in a good way at all. But he also averaged nearly 2 steals a game. 6'4", can shoot the ball, can score from mid-range, can take it to the hoop, can really yam it, can really get up. Also, had a really good game against UConn, had 20 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, was 8 for 8 from the free throw line. And, they only lost to UConn by 8 points, you know what I'm saying? And outside of, Jaylen Moore, they didn't really have nobody who was going to be a shot creator. So, I think it's one of those things where the numbers, he shot 5 for 14, but rewatching the footage, he was picking his spots very well. He was getting either into the teeth of the defense, or he was able to make a move on the perimeter to be able to create space. Now, I already mentioned in, I believe, my first video that his NBA comparisons are a very interesting, variety of different players. I named guys like Jordan Poole and Doc Rivers, shout out to Coach Doc Rivers, as well as John Wall and Jamal Murray. And all in one, you put that all into one player. That's a very, very explosive player. And given that DeJounte himself is also 28, and he's going to be coming off an Achilles injury, there's no guarantee. Now, granted, I did say couple videos ago, there's a player that I have the utmost faith in coming back and playing at a strong level. It is DeJounte Murray. But given the uncertainty of that, and then also given CJ McCollum, he'll be coming back from a foot injury. Granted, he's expected to come back in training camp. And just given his age, it begs to ask the question, do we start looking for that next lead guard now? Do we kickstart it, right? Do we jump the gun and say, hey, bring him in now and have him come off the bench, have him, start the year. And then once DeJounte comes back, depending on how things go, likely he would go to the bench. But if he's killing it, if he's out there dominating, you're not going to hear a lot of arguments to sit someone while they're playing well. You know what I'm saying? You ride the hot hand as much as you can. I I think honestly and truly, looking at the 7th overall pick, right? I truly think that Jeremiah Fears would be perfect for us. He's got the swagger, the attitude, and he's got the game. And I feel like with his ability to put the ball down the floor, spread the floor, and be able to play lockdown defense, you know what I'm saying? He's not a liability. He has all what it takes to become a two-way star at the next level. Bring him down to the bayou. Bring him on down. I think he'll be very embraced, and I think that his tenacity and his explosiveness will be rewarded. And I also think that him playing with, other guys who can score, again, guys, Zion, Trey Murphy, CJ once he comes back, throwing up lobs to Missy. I think that will be incredibly impactful for him. That will help him reduce his turnovers, and that will also help him develop even more as a pure point. And I think that he would learn very well learning from a guy like DeJounte, learning from a guy like CJ, learning from a guy like Jose Alvarado. I think they all would serve as great teachers and mentors. And then obviously President Dumars, right? And, given his ability to play point and shooting guard, there's a lot of things that you can do within a lineup to keep him, active and involved and maximize the most of his talent. But y'all let me know. I've been seeing a lot of people in the comments been saying they really want Kaman. And I'll talk more about Kaman next video. It's official. I'm gonna do it. But I really want y'all to get sold on the idea. Sorry, not get sold. I want y'all to get hype. That's a better word to use. I want y'all to get hype on the prospect and idea of Jeremiah Fears. So, you know what I'm saying? Food for thought. Food for thought. But I really think that this young man has a lot of potential and ability to step in and easily, right? Given how the team, goes, I think he could come in and average double digits. Somewhere in the range between 10 to 12 points on slightly more efficient shooting, but probably around in that same like 40, sub 40 range, just as a rookie guard, you know what I'm saying? But I think he would do very well. And I think that, I think Coach Green would also respond very well to a player like him. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Obviously, there's going to be more chatter with this draft. But as far as who I can say, as far as most confidently, who I feel like would be able to step in and immediately produce and also address a need, given the time of everything, I think Jeremiah Fears is our guy. But again, y'all let me know what y'all think. Now, this next one, this one is the ultimate crazy, outrageous. It wouldn't be a video with me without an outrageous trade for a veteran, But this is courtesy of Wes Goldberg of The Ringer. And this is more so in the realm of talking about the Celtics and what they're going to be doing in the aftermath of Jason Tatum's Achilles injury. So I feel like that team is still able to somewhat compete, but given the second apron, they're not going to be able to retain a lot of their players that they have on the team. Now, this trade idea, I don't like or agree with, but I want y'all to hear it out because I'm liking the fact. I feel like there's a tide in the ship turning, by the way. Because when I was doing my intel on this channel, I would see a lot of, very mixed in the air dialogue about Zion. But I'm seeing more of y'all really turn around and believe in the young man. And that's exactly my goal. That's exactly my plan. Y'all are doing what is expected. But no, it's reason to ask certain things. But all roads lead to Zion. So we would have to give him up. And I'm not with that. I'm not with that. But we'd have to give up Zion. We would pick swap 2026 with Milwaukee, and then a Pelicans first from 2029. And then we would get Jaylen Brown, and then for the Celtics, they would waive Zion before July 5th when the guarantee part of his contract hit. Now, if I'm the Celtics and I get a player like Zion, I'm not waiving him. I'm sorry. Like, that's just lunacy. That's just crazy talk. But that was what this article, it was like the very end, and it was talking about the utmost crazy, like, I can't believe we even doing this type of trade talk. But Jaylen Brown, on the other hand, I think Jaylen Brown, one of the best two-way players. I would argue best two-way shooting guard in the league. Finals MVP last year, 2024. Very instrumental part of why the Celtics have turned into one of the most dominant teams in the NBA within, the latter part of the 2010s. And, multi All-Star, all defensive first team, great guy in the community. I mean, there's a lot of positive things to say about him, but that left hand is definitely an Achilles heel, and it's hard to tell if he's a number one, because he has his moments where he shows, right? And against us, like I looked up, he's averaged 26 and 4 on 47% shooting, 41% from three, and 82% from the free throw line. Those aren't mind-blowing stats, but granted, that's him playing next to a superstar like Jason Tatum. That's him playing with, a guy that could be a borderline all-star in Derek White. That's him playing with guys like Horford, him playing with the sixth man of the year, Pritchard, him playing with a guy like Drew Holiday who could still go out and get buckets. Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, it was almost an embarrassment of riches that the Celtics had, and that is the type of, if you want to look at like a team model as far as like what we need to aspire and build towards, I mean, one, just historical pedigree, yes, but then just presently, that's, the type of roster you want to have. Just be able to beat you in multiple ways, have multiple guys that can take over a game, that can have a big impact. I personally think that, yes, knowing that Jaylen would be able to come in, likely that would move Trey to the 3 or JB to 3. It just all depends. That'd be like a coin toss. And then that probably would fully cement Zion at the 4. And I gotta say, y'all in the comments who've been saying put Zion at the 3, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that, because floor spacing wise, you lose so much putting Zion at the 3. And granted, his height is more of a 3 than a 4, but his play style, you have to think about the play style. I don't see where y'all are going with this put Zion at the 3. And I've seen some of y'all, I've seen multiple of y'all really push this idea of putting Zion at the 3. Now, granted, he can handle the ball to a degree, but the lack of shooting that you're going to miss out on, I feel like that's just too big of a risk and not enough of a reward. You know what I'm saying? Now, if Zion could surprise us all and come into this year shooting lights out, shooting, 35+% from 3, who knows? I'm willing to, I'm willing to take that leap, but putting him automatically to start the year at the 3, not really with. But you get a guy like Jaylen Brown there, multi-all-star, you could argue the best player of the 2016 draft class, and finals MVP, you know what I'm saying? That $300 million contract, $300 million contract is a lot, though. That's the only thing, too, is that it's good for the Celtics, so they would shed all that. They would shed that contract, but now we're taking that on. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But as far as like, JB is 28 as well, still very much in the prime, still very much a healthy player. Now, I don't think Boston is going to give up JB. I don't think so. But who knows? We have seen crazier trades, right? Look no further than the team that they played against, Dallas, right? Nobody saw a Luka trade happening as far as within the public eye, right? And JB isn't on the same stature as Luka, but they both mean a lot to the city and their respective franchises. They both are very much beloved by the fans. And that's sometimes the hard thing as a GM, is that when you make certain trades, you have to factor in, like, how beloved is this guy? How much are people really, rocking and supporting with him? So, but I feel like JB's play style, would adapt and fit well with Zion, with CJ, DeJounte once he comes back, whoever we draft at 7, Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Brandon Boston. I'm not gonna name Jordan Hawkins because y'all say I need to stop overhyping Jordan Hawkins, but he's there, right? And and just kind of go from there. And I think that if he came over to New Orleans, he's easily putting up, in that range of like 20, 22 to 24 game, 6, 7 boards, 4 pushing 5 assists. I mean that, and you can't ask for too much more, right? And I feel like his play style doesn't coincide with anybody's on our team. But as I said before, all roads lead to Zion. I'm not with giving up Zion, but if you're keeping score at home, right? Giannis, Trae Young, KD, Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown. I mean, it's a nice 5 right there. But these are some of the players that have been floating around in names to be traded with Zion. I'm not going to name DeAndre Ayton because I know most of y'all like, absolutely not. But as far as like those other ones, but like I said, all roads lead to Zion, Mr. Zion Williamson. And I found a very, very poignant stat that I think all of y'all who are on the doubting side, because I like that more of y'all are like, nope, we're not getting rid of Zion. We keep Zion. We build around Zion, and we see what he can do. We see what his peak is. We see how he can continue to rise and get better and develop the rest of his game. And I'm with y'all on that. And I'm going to keep pushing that all year. Now, if he comes out and stinks it up and plays terribly, God forbid, when the season hits, then okay, y'all have every right to be like, Dill, you don't know what you're talking about. Now, I don't believe that's going to happen. No cockiness, but I don't believe that's going to happen. But this is a very poignant stat that I want y'all to take into consideration. Now, Zion has more 25-point games plus, right? So 25 or more on 60% shooting for any player at the age of 25. Zion is 24, turning 25 soon, but he fits that bill. And he's got 70 games with 25 points or more on 60% field goal shooting. Now, again, right, I talked about in my first video, Zion and his post game, right? If he gets in the gym with Hakeem, that post game should absolutely expand. His footwork should absolutely get better. So the fact that he's doing that without the post game element, right? Number one. Number two, the shooting ability, whether from mid-range or from the three-point line. Now, if I was in Zion's ear, a player that I would tell him to watch as far as like to improve as a shooter would be David West. David West was one of my favorite power forwards of the mid-2000s and on, you know what I'm saying? And he was great for us. Big reason why that 2008 team was looking like a potential finals team. You know what I'm saying? All-star with us. Had some great years with the Pacers as well. They almost made it to the finals, beating the Big Three, Miami, with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. And then he also still was a valuable veteran off the bench for a couple of Golden State Warriors championship teams. So if I'm Zion Williamson, right, and David West was similar, not play style wise, you know what I'm saying, very different. But as far as like just being an undersized power forward, but having a soft touch, if I'm Zion, that's a player that I'm studying as far as from the mid-range wise. 3-point wise, that's going to be more so on Zion's own, you know what I'm saying? Because like a lot of the players that, we've seen him be compared to, guys like Barkley, Blake Griffin, Karl Malone, Sean Kemp. Well, Blake Griffin, you know what? Hold on. Maybe I might have just got onto something. Y'all remember in 2019, Blake Griffin with the Pistons, he expanded his range of three-point line. So you know what? I misspoke. Zion, if you're watching this, watch 2019 Blake Griffin highlights. And as far as like also the handle wise, as a big who can handle the ball on the perimeter, watch him too. But from the three-point line, if you can get your three ball like Blake in 2019 and get your mid-range like David West in 2008, I promise you, not only are your numbers going to jump up, but your health is going to be much more solidified because you're not going to be putting so much pressure on your knees, putting so much pressure on your weight itself, right? You can use your weight to create space, to create open looks from the perimeter. that only extends your game. That it also expands it too, and it allows you more ability to take over. But the list of names, like, that's on this list, you got guys like R.J. Barrett, his teammate at Duke. He's the next after with 26. Mr. Ant Edwards, everybody's favorite hooper, your favorite hooper's favorite hooper, depending on how you look at it. Within today, he's only got 20. He's only got 22, but that number is gonna jump up. I mean, I think RJ still could as a Duke fan. I'm always believing my Dukies. I still believe in RJ. I don't know what Toronto is gonna do, just given like they got a lot of wings. They got our guy Bi. I don't know what they're gonna do, but what I'm saying, that's not our concern. We got enough things over here to worry about. Evan Mobley, who just won Defensive Player of the Year for the Cavs right after at 21. I was actually surprised to see his name on the list, but he's expanded his game tremendously. And then you have three guys who tied 20. Alperen Sengun, who was an All-Star this year for the first time. Tyrese Maxey, who was an All-Star last year and would have been this year likely had it not been for injuries, had it not been for Philly not playing, up to the par and level that they're at, that they should have been given the roster on paper. And then Mr. Scotty Barnes of the Raptors. Was just talking about the Raptors with RJ. Who knows what they do? But all three of them are at 20. So that's 70 to 26 is a massive gap and divide. I'm going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. It is way too soon to give up on Zion. Way too soon. That type of efficiency is not easy to achieve, especially in today's NBA with the amount of switching, with the amount of zone defenses, with, teams at times still being like, let's take it back to the 2000s. Let's clog that paint up and force you to bang with the baddest. And Zion, when healthy, it's always when healthy. When healthy, he has shown he can produce. He produces as a number one pick should. Now, yes, obviously we want more wins out of that. Yes, that is essential. That is important. But I think that is a very encouraging stat, and I think that's something that the fan base should really allow to marinate. I'm sure President Dumars knows this stat offhand, but I think it's something real to consider and think about, because that type of efficiency, again, for a player with his play style and at his age, is not easily achieved. So, that's why I'm very much on the train of, please do not give up Zion. Luckily, President Dumars and I, hey, we locked in. We both in the same frame of mind. But I really, really do. I think it's way too soon. Now, if Zion falls off a cliff or his game never expands past this point, then okay, that makes for a different conversation. Then also looking at his contract, looking at, the logistics with that. But as of right now, it's time to invest. It's time to continue to invest into him. You add a guy like Jeremiah Fears, boom, even more efficiency. He's going to be feeding him the rock. He's going to be finding him for alley-oops. He's going to be finding him down low. You know what I'm saying? There's just a lot to take into consideration. I think fully healthy, when we see this roster at hand and at play, I think we'll be able to get a lot better of a perspective of what is possible and attainable. Again, I corrected myself last video and I said, maybe I might have been a little overzealous, 5th, 6th seed. But I think playing is very possible. You know what I'm saying? If a team like the Kings could have made it last year, especially after they, almost gutted their whole team, sans, guys like Sabonis and Keegan Murray, what's to say that we can't be in that predicament if we're healthy and we're playing well on both sides of the ball, and Zion is spearheading the charge, continuing to add on to 25-point-plus games on 60% or higher efficiency? What's to say? You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's reasonable to wonder. It's reasonable to gauge. And again, Let's give it time. Let's allow this to marinate. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. But I do appreciate y'all very, very much for continuing to support, continuing to tune in. You know what I'm saying? There could be more content on the way. What more news, especially once the draft officially hits, because right now it's just kind of like, we're just shooting the ish. We're just talking, fireside like. But once the draft hits, oh man. Woo! Once summer league hits, woo! Well, can't forget about free agency. Once, the summer free agency hits, woo! Once summer league hits, woo! Once season, preseason and season starts, or even, man, go further. Training camp, preseason, season. There's going to be so much content. So make sure as much as possible that you like, share, and subscribe to the page. Follow FanArch on Instagram. And y'all can now follow me on Instagram as well. My profile that I have that's going to be, affiliated, connected to it. Chat with me on there. If y'all like, hey, man, I rock with your takes. I rock with the way you talk about the team. Or if you're like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. By all means, my DMs are open. And look, one thing about me, I'm always down to debate ball. Always. I just love the game, and I want this to be as interactive with y'all as possible. But y'all can follow me at Dylan, and this is all lowercase, by the way, Dylan_Bruton, BRUTON 10. And that's on Instagram. So follow me on there. You can see some stuff I've done with other company organizations. I'm going to have everything else, but that's the profile that y'all can follow me at to stay up to date. And I'm going to be posting I'm going to be posting links with this. But again, I do appreciate y'all for taking the time to hear me talk Pelicans ball. Make sure, again, like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content on the way. This draft is going to be incredibly exciting. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat. Make no mistake. But I greatly appreciate y'all for the support so far. Let's continue this great ride. Let's continue this great journey. Y'all stay blessed. Enjoy some playoff ball. And stay tuned for more content from Pelicans Daily presented by FanArch. Signing out.